So guys, a big warm welcome to you tonight. Really big warm welcome to those that are watching on Facebook. An extremely warm welcome for you guys that are in the house tonight, knowing that, of course, we're in a really strange time, a strange season. But we've been going through a season for us called Health Check. And this season for us has been one where we've been able to look at the different types of maybe the issues that we've all been facing, or maybe some of us have faced one or two of them. But tonight is going to be the finishing, the wrapping up of this series where we've been. So I'm just going to give you a really quick recap of what that was, although I'm not going to be going into any depth with it. You can catch it up. It's all online. Certainly look at Facebook, or you can go on to YouTube and catch up all of the stuff that's on there. So week one was about checking in. It's really important to check in with the doctors, about choosing, making those choices. Likewise, we need to choose to check in to God. So it's really easy to check out and to go, no, I'm good. But yet we tend to go, okay, God, I'm just going to check into you right now because something's gone wrong, as opposed to it should be the norm for us to have open access to him on a daily basis. But so checking in, and I spoke a little bit about that and what that looks like. Number two was about stress, worry, anxiety, and all of those things. Reality is, even though we're Christians, does not mean that God's not going to let us go through stressful times, worrying times, and of course, anxiety within that. And I've got linked in with that, of course, for that week was a little bit of nervousness as well. Week three was, Ben spoke about breathing. Really important to breathe, of course. Right now, COVID, certainly in my family, COVID has been, is now gone, but yet it's left with after effects of breathing difficulties. So I know firsthand, certainly breathing can be a bit of a chore. But yet, the breath of God wants to come in and through us to give us life and to give us more in abundance that he could ever ask or imagine. So great. Okay, now week four was about resting. Chilling out and resting. Yeah, that was a bit hard for me because I tend to work long hours, tend to be a person that doesn't rest much. And it's strange that actually I spoke on that on the Saturday night, on the Sunday, and for the next couple of weeks thereafter, didn't have any time out. Funny how I mentioned in my preach that God would give you a time out, and I ended up, of course, my family being forced to take time out of work and being able to put my feet up, have done for the past 14 days or so. So that's been quite nice, despite, of course, all the natural stuff that's gone on behind the back. And said, God has got a bit of a sense of humor with certainly what he's done. The next one, of course, week five was about mind. Our minds. May our minds be sound. It's really important that God speaks about having a sound mind. And what does that look like in a world that's a bit chaotic and in a world that we've, of course, have gone through all those other things that I've just spoken about. But having a mind that is on Christ is one that is certainly where we should be. But this week, as I wrap this up, this week is about heart. I have to speak on heart. You can't speak on all the other topics, certainly, without looking at the heart. See, guys, the heart has been it is the main thing. Without it, we just would not be able to function. Without it, it's been something that's been, my goodness, you couldn't do the stuff that you wanted to do in the most natural way. As I've been doing a little bit of research into the heart, found some stuff I'll be speaking on in a moment, but I'm amazed about the different heart problems you can have. And then, so far away from me as this week, as I was writing this message, I had a phone call from my dad to say that he was on his way to take my mum to hospital. And she has had a problem with just feeling very, very unwell. So they sent her, so I was writing this sermon, phone call came, and it said, Pete, just know, and I'm taking your mum in, her, basically, she needs to go for an ECG. So we said, okay, it's normal stuff. So we took her in ECG into the doctors. Doctor looked at it and said, sorry, Mrs. Jones, you need to go to the hospital. So ECG to have another ECG. And she ended up in the cardio ward, and she's now scheduled in to have a pacemaker fitted. Guys, things have happened in a really real way this week as I've been talking about literally preparing this sermon, and I had that call. So it's safe to say, guys, literally, that as things develop, and as I was preparing this, it got me thinking about, well, what does the heart do? What you know, I understand that it could be me, and I understand it keeps us alive, but it forced me to do a little bit of digging, and of course I found out that there were some amazing people that, you know, amazing sports people that I've got a name of a guy, Fabrice Muamba. He collapsed, 23 years of age. In fact, he literally died for 73 minutes on a pitch. Yet he was brought back, and he's completely sold out for God, goes around different places, talks about the different effects, what happened to him. And there's many different footballers, sporting people that have had effects like that, where literally they look like they're in their peak of their prime. And for no reason at all, so it would seem, life can hang in the balance. And thankfully, there's so many people that are well prepared now that understand how to step in times like that they could help and support him. I've got a statement, I've got to read this. This is written by a guy called Justin Jasser, and he writes this: the heart is an amazing organ. Your heart is responsible for pumping life-giving blood to 75 trillion cells in your body, and can do so in under 1 minute. Today your heart will beat approximately 100,000 times, shuttling 2,000 gallons of oxygen-filled blood through 60,000 miles of blood vessels. Over your lifetime, your heart will pump around 1 million barrels of blood. The fact of the matter is that without your heart functioning properly, you cannot live to the fullest. A healthy heart is vital to your well-being and overall health. I was absolutely, as soon as I found out those statistics, I was blown away. And then it goes without saying, guys, that having a healthy heart is something that we all want. We all want to have health, and we all want to be in really good spirits. Yet the Bible talks about healthy heart in the same way as having a healthy spiritual outcome. Our spiritual heart is a diagnosis of our spiritual health. I'm going to say that again. Our spiritual heart is a diagnosis of our spiritual health. Oh. Therefore, the two go hand in hand. You cannot separate having a healthy heart without having a healthy spiritual heart. See, guys, if we choose to want to serve the one, then all of a sudden we will neglect the other. The one goes hand in hand with the other, and if you have a healthy spiritual heart, man, what a healthy heart you could have. You'll understand where I'm coming from in a moment, but I want us to just look very briefly. I'm just going to give you an overview, and you'll know exactly where I'm going. For those of you that are watching on Facebook Live tonight, you'll understand when I'm talking about, I'm going to jump to the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel, and I'm going to jump to verse, I'm not going to go there yet. Jump to 1 Samuel. I'm going to talk about a guy called David. And this guy called David was one that, listen, for want of a better word, he was a shepherd boy. He was sold out for helping and for nurturing, for looking after, for sustaining the sheep. And as the sheep grew, he was there to support them. He was there to nurture them. He was there to carry them through those rough times. And if they got lost, he would go and search for them. If they were stuck in a battle, he would go and find them. If they were in a place where they really were challenged by whatever they were facing, he would come in and jump in between them. Whether or not that would be a lion or whether or not that would be any other animal, yet his purpose was to be there. His purpose was to serve. And right in the middle of that, his brothers were sent away for an army to go to war, to go to battle. And of course, I'm going to pick this up in a place whereby the battle has started, or the taunting has started. And he's in a place, wow, where he just left what he was doing. David left what he was doing to go and serve. He left the sheep to go and to help deliver food, to go and to give supplies. He left the thing that he was looking after to go into somewhere else. You might think, Pete, where are you going? Where's this with health? It's really simple. It's really simple. See, guys, battles can be won and lost by the heart. I know we can talk about head, and I have done. But I've heard so many sayings of, I've lost heart in where I'm at. I've given up. I can't go any further. I've lost heart. I'm picking this up. Here we are. Samuel 1, verse 23. As he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistines, champion from Gath, came out from the Philistine ranks. Then David heard him shout his usual taunt to the army of Israel. As soon as the Israelite army saw him, they began to run away. They began to run away. You need to get this concept in your head. This was an army ready to fight. Yet, when they saw what they saw in front of them, it should say, and they lost heart, turned, and ran away. They could not carry on and do what they were called to do because they were afraid. Yet someone else was willing to see the need and to meet that need, but yet that person's, so for others to look on, would think you are untrained, you're not ready, you can't do this. And so as we go on, we see that his brothers had a little bit to say about this. Verse 28, but when David's older brothers, Eliab heard David talking to the men, he was angry. What are you doing around here? He demanded to know, what are you doing around here? Almost saying, you shouldn't be here. You should be looking after those sheep. We are the ones that are going to be fighting this battle. You should be doing what you are meant to do, and we should be doing what we're meant to do. In other words, go away. Yet, he responds with, what have I done now? What have I done now? Almost as if the background story is that him and his brothers must taunt him or pick on him or have negative things to say, because his response was, what have I done now? What have I done? Why are you picking on me? All I'm doing is coming to help you guys. I'm delivering supplies. I've left my sheep. I've left my flock. The things that I should be looking after to come and help you. And yet this is how you treat me. Wow. The boys responded, but I was only asking a question. He walked over to some others and asked them the same thing and received the same answer. Then David's questions was reported to King Saul, and the king sent for him. David responded, don't worry about the Philistines, David told Saul. I'll go and fight him. The response was, don't be ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous. Saul replied, there is no way that you can fight the Philistine and possibly win. You're only a boy, and he's been a man of war since his youth. Guys, I think we're at a time whereby in this story, he's been put down a few times already just because of him being young, just because of him not being a guy that was ready for battle or for war, or so it would seem. And yet people just almost wanted to say, how can this be? You're having a laugh. Go away. I love it that in this instance, he wasn't afraid. And of course, it goes on to say that he goes and speaks, and he's offered armor. He's offered all these things. And he goes, I cannot wear any of this. I cannot. See, I've done my time in the thing that I was looking after. What it should say is, and I love this, paraphrasing, I've learned the tools of the trade by being hands-on. See, no matter the battle of whatever the sheep needed, I was there. I've wrestled with different animals, protected the sheep. And this giant is just literally nothing to me. But what I can tell you is, I have enough heart and determination to get me through. These guys have lost heart because as soon as they heard the taunts, they ran away. But yet, David was willing to go with his heart, knowing that God had prepared him for such a time as this. Guys, sometimes in life, we need to go into a battle zone to appreciate the groundwork that God has done in us, and we can access what he's done, and therefore we need to use what he's given us. So, let's look tonight at a spiritual health check. Okay. So, health. I'm going to go through this quite quickly tonight, guys. I've got a fair bit to get through. So, health. First, guarding your heart begins with the realization that your spiritual heart helps diagnose your spiritual health. First, I'm just going to say that again. Because when I wrote that, I thought, is that quite profound? The realization that your spiritual heart helps diagnose your spiritual health. It is so important that we can be in tune with where God wants us to be. And when we listen to that still small voice, remember exactly what has just been, the story that we just read. Having the heart that what God has put in you, if you know that you know, you're willing to go and to act upon it. Your spiritual health is ready to be acted upon. But yet, if for any reason we're at a place whereby we've been really good at talking the talk, but yet not walking the walk, where does that leave us? Where does that leave us? in our health check tonight. Galatians 5 verse 22 to 23 says this: but the Holy Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives: love, joy, patience, peace, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And there is no law against these things. Tonight, guys, I want to say this: if we are willing to say, God, within my health, within my heart, I'm willing to come under your authority, and I'm willing to step into all that you have for me, God will lavish his love upon you. And the outward pouring of that love is, as I just said, love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control. Love it. I love it. Notice this when self-control comes in from the story that we've just read. He was ready to fight the battle. His heart was ready to fight the battle. And the beautiful thing was his heart was completely in tune with where God wanted him to be. I'm going to move on. Emotion. We guard our hearts when we control our emotions. We guard our hearts when we control our emotions. I think for some of us that could be quite a tough one, to be honest. I know that emotionally we can be charged, but guys, we absolutely need to guard our hearts. Colossians 3 verse 15 says this: and let the peace that comes from Christ rule in your hearts. For as a member of one body, you are called to live in peace and always be thankful for what you have. Isn't that beautiful? Having the right heart will determine how you act. Guys, also, having the right attitude. Our attitude is an essential part of God in our hearts. Next time you're in conversation, I've got this. Wow. Next time you're in conversation, watch the power of attitude. When I say that, watch the power of negative attitude. Negative attitude breeds negative attitude. But if you're willing to be the one that is the positive attitude, the outcome will be positive. You can flip it all around. I remember some years ago, and I think I'm going back a good 10 years maybe, when we were doing some youth work. And some years back, we set a challenge to the young people that they had to say 3 nice things to someone else. 3 positive things to someone else in the day. And they had to do that for a week. This was including siblings. This was including family members. And I think in the end, there was a joke that it came to nice hair, nice clothes, nice shoes. It was like that in the end, because it was trying to be positive with the things that they were saying. Yet, how hard it was, they really discovered that actually trying to be really positive in all conversations is a challenge. But yet, they discovered that the outcome of that by the end of the week was their outlook on life was very different. Why? Because their positivity had bred positivity, and therefore their attitudes had completely changed. We saw some remarkable transformations. And in fact, over time, that didn't change. We kept that up for a good few months after. And people were meeting other young people with nice hair, nice clothes, nice shoes. Nice hair, nice clothes, nice shoes. Just because it ended up being a bit of a joke. But what that did was the positivity came as something that was a natural part of conversation. Guys, how good is it if we have a natural part of conversation that is really positive on our attitude towards others. Wow. I'm saying from the outward, right from the day that you wake up, if you wake up with the attitude of gratitude, what a difference it will make. Okay, response. Every day we have the opportunity to respond. Whether you're responding to your boss, your spouse, your kids, your co-workers, your attitude to your boss and your response matters. Now, you may have seen my Facebook post today because I had to share this. The environment that you cultivate will be the one that you act out of. The environment that you cultivate will be the one that you act out of. See, guys, if your response is going to be negative, 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 and the way that we are, your heart becomes hardened and negative towards other things. But yet, flip that around on the other side. If you're cultivating an environment where you want to see people grow, you want to see the best in others, you want to be the people that encourages one another, you're cultivating an environment that is infectious that others want to be around. What are you cultivating? And I'm loving that. Romans 12 verse 10 says this: be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Listen to this. Honor one another above yourself. Guys, being in that environment with our hearts that is willing to have to cultivate something that is willing to lift others up far beyond yourself. What a beautiful place to be. It's not about what I can do, but it's about what others can do. And if I can give others an opportunity to thrive and excel and to grow far beyond where I am, why wouldn't I do that? Why would I be one that wanted to hold back and to keep others down just because they could be better than me? You're not cultivating an environment of growth. In fact, you're cultivating an environment of restriction. If you're cultivating a healthy, growing, sustainable place, your environment, it will be one that nurtures, that encourages, that wants to see the best in everyone. And thoughts. Every day we have the opportunity to respond, whether you're responding to your boss, your spouse, your co-workers. And I'm jumping on to here. It says, Romans 15, verse 7, it says this: accept one another, just as Christ accepted you, to bring praise to him. It's not about you or about me, but it's about what God does through you for him. It's about how we can just say, do you know what? Thank you for this, but God, you've done amazing things. And I'm so blessed that you've used little old me in this little time, in this little place, and man, you're going to do incredible things. But in our thought process, I had to put this in. And I don't go from this version very much, but in the King James Version, Jeremiah 17, verse 9 says this: the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Therefore, it is evident that on a daily basis we need to take stock of where we are. We need to cut off the bad stuff and be willing for God to change, to alter, and to adjust. And if we're willing to say, God, I've done wrong, I put myself into a bad thought process, I've been really negative about that, how can I flip that around? God says, I see that. And now I'm going to cultivate you to a heart of love and compassion and change that will support and encourage. I've got here tonight, what are we molding? What are we willing to say, I want to be able to, in my heart, cultivate something that I can encourage, I can pass on, I can build up. I've got here, I love this. God is the God of second chances. He is the one that will never ever give up. And he's the one that will continue to keep us going. So as I go back to where I started, in that time, in that place, as I go back to the guy, Fabrice Muamba, who was on the pitch that couldn't breathe. Yes, people interacted. Yes, people jumped in. But in his story, something was used which was just incredible. We have them one next door, and it's called a defibrillator. And it's something that needs to shock the heart to get it back in rhythm, back in the right time. And guys, there is sometimes within our lives that we need a little bit of shocking to put back in the right rhythm, in the right time, in the right sequence. Because maybe we've just gone out of kilt a little. Maybe our hearts have gone a little bit hard. Maybe that we've neglected certain parts, and God's going, I need to do a little bit of CPR on you. But however, this CPR that I'm doing, actually, I need a bit more right now, and I'm going to give you a good kick. And sometimes we need that, guys, to kickstart us back in the right rhythm, back in the right time, and God can do some marvelous things when that actually happens. So as I come into Land tonight, and I love this series that we've done, the Health Check series. But guys, we've gone through this season of being able to talk about various emotions, the places where we're at. Here it is with all of these things with a health check. It starts with you and me. There is no good going to the doctor saying, you've got this wrong with you. However, you need to change what you're doing and you need to live a different life. If you're a person that comes to that place and it says, I'm not willing to change, then because of that, I'm afraid to say, there's not much that is going to happen apart from the obvious. But here's the beautiful thing. When you're standing before the doctor says, this is the place of where you're at. You've got this, and this. Is not working right now. However, you can make that adjustment in your life, and the outcome could be good. The choices that we could make right then and right there are ones that can have a huge impact upon your life. So right now, when God's saying, actually, I want to do a little bit of work on your heart right now, I need us to just nudge off the old stuff, because actually there's some hardened bits in there, and those things, the love, joy, peace, passion, well, you've got one or two of them, right? But actually some of the others have gone a bit on the side. And right now, I need to do a little bit of work on you. Guys, we need to be malleable and ready for God to just chip away, make that adjustment. And when we do so, what a beautiful picture that is. See, when that happens and we say, God, I'm sorry for the stuff that I've done, and I realize my life is just not lining up to where you want for me right now. But I know that I need to come underneath your authority. I know that I need in my life to have you as number one. See, what happens there is when you come and you say, God, I need you to change my heart, something beautiful happens in those times. And God's able to do what only He can do. And the hard heart that maybe didn't care, that maybe would pass by someone on the road, that maybe was not willing to think of others except yourself, all of a sudden, in that moment, that changes, because God downloads something brand new that you've never experienced. Having a heart full of love and compassion and care comes from the one that is love. What a beautiful thought. What a beautiful place. And whilst we're in this health check season, having the right heart helps all of your other organs in your body. Heart, soul, mind. It's a challenge tonight. What are you going to do different? What are we going to do different? What am I going to do different to enable my heart to be sold out for God in every way of my life? What am I going to change? How am I going to be able to be in a place where from my place right now, I'm able to build people up. I'm able to cultivate an environment where things grow. I know that I can do that when God is number one in my life. Why? Because He has the plan and the purpose for me. Amen.